You're online, Kyle, please start.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kyle Ellicott, your host for another edition of VCTV, and welcome back. It's Monday. What does that mean? You know exactly what it means, our audience who tunes in every single day. It means we've got a full week ahead of great episodes with investors from around the world talking about industries, technologies, and regions around the world and everything that's happening in and out and around them. We've got a fully packed week leading all the way up to our last episode of the week, where we talk all about in-depth everything happening in venture. But today we're kicking it off and we're jumping into the metaverse, the oasis, the virtual world, everything we have teased about in some way, shape, or form over the past couple of weeks. We're jumping in as we talk about what's happening in augmented and virtual reality, AR and VR. There's been a lot talked about over the past 10 plus years, as we're going to dive into today, as some of our guests I know have deep, vast experience in this industry. But these technologies have been talked about for years. They're finally starting to come to, or are they? We're finally starting to see use cases and adoptions in both enterprise and consumer. Those applications, those worlds, we're finally here to start seeing and playing and getting involved in this stuff. But what does it all mean? The virtual economy, something to remember throughout today's episode. The virtual economy is looking at potentially being over 100 billion with a big capital B by 2025. We've had the gig economy, we've had the hustle economy, we had the digital economy. Now we are entering the virtual economy. This is a whole new world that we'll get into with virtual goods, business models, businesses, real estate, and an entire world that we'll start interacting with in a virtual way that will be worth, again, $100 billion by 2025 based on sources of now, which means it's definitely about to grow. So without further ado, let's go ahead and give our thanks before we get into our exciting panel of investors from around the world. A big thank you to you, our audience, for joining and tuning in today. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. We'd love to hear from you. Investors that are tuning in, if you'd like to be on a show like today and talk and share your insights of what you're seeing in your respected markets, please reach out. We'd love to have you. Entrepreneurs, if you'd like the chance to come on today's show or others and have the chance to pitch us investors along with our live audience, we'd love to have you. Reach out to myself, Elena, or to the entire LA Token team, and we'd love to have you on the show. And at any time, audience, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. Elena and myself will do our best to ask them in real time. If not, we're all available 24/7, 365 online today, and maybe even more so in the virtual world, as we'll get to shortly, and be happy to continue the conversation. Also, a big shout out to Elena and to the entire LA Token team for making VCTV possible to you and to any screen on any device, headset or otherwise, that you may be tuning into around the world. Now, let's go ahead and get started, introduce each of our investors. And audience, you know how today's show will work. We're gonna go and rock and roll with a couple questions, get everyone's views, and then we'll switch into the lightning round and really pepper out what's happening in this industry. All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off. Alessandro, welcome to the show. Very first time here with Elena and I. It's a pleasure. If you can, a little introduction and a little background on yourself.
Of course. Thank you, Kyle and Elena, for inviting me. I'm Alessandro Marianantoni. I'm a founder director at M Accelerator. We run a hybrid version of accelerator incubator program here in Los Angeles, California. And I'm happy also to be here today with my partner for the venture fund that we are working on, Noble Darklon. And a little bit of my background is that definitely I started when I was really young in software development. I studied computer science. I started working way before the university. And about 19 years ago, I moved to Los Angeles to work as a researcher, first at the University of Southern California, then University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. And I've done that for about 10 years. And then also at the same time, I was running a company, designing technology for very large spectrum of solutions, all related to entertainment. So VR, AR, I started working on those as a developer, probably it was 2006, something like that.
So definitely have had some time in this space, and it's exciting that you've been in there, on both the developer side and the research side, now moving into the investment side.
Exactly.
We're going to tease a little bit more of that out here shortly. And before we do, Eduardo, good friend, welcome back to the show. A little intro and a little background on yourself.
Hi guys, hi Kali, Lina, thanks again for having invited me in another show actually. Basically, I run the operations of a large US family office in the EMEA region actually, where we invest in a number of companies, venture capital, private equity. I have an extensive experience in, new technologies actually, and this digital world actually, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, esports, Internet of Things, that kind of businesses actually. I also run the I'm the president of the Entrepreneurs Club in the Spanish largest private, basically educational group. And I also teach in a number of business schools in Europe and US. So very, very happy to join this group of panelists. And I think that we are gonna have real fun today, actually, because this is a really, really hot topic, virtual reality and artificial intelligence at these days.
Absolutely. I mean, we go back 6 months ago, we were talking about doing conferences completely and events completely in the virtual world. We're now starting to finally move towards that as we look to some of the upcoming concerts and events that are going to be happening, and more conferences, as a matter of fact, that will start happening in a more virtual or mixed reality. But more on that in a little bit.
Actually, we are promoting a company here in Spain, actually, with the largest REIT, in which you will be able to basically buy your new brand house just from your computer screen or laptop, or smartphone. So basically, you can do the visit on a virtual reality basis. You have to be there.
Well, there you go. We'll hold that thought, Eduardo. I'll make sure everyone gets introductions. But yes, we are virtually coming to your living room anywhere in the world. Lubna, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you as well. First time, little intro, little background.
Hi, thank you so much. And thanks, actually, it's the first time I'm talking about this topic, but it's my second, so thanks for having me back. A super exciting topic because it's about experiences. My background as currently as an investor, coach, mentor, judge. But background is in systems analysis and design, and so I have the scars of driving for the last, let's not talk how many years. Wait, let me hold my skin back. About innovation through leveraging technology, but in implementation. Some years ago, I even wrote a paper called The Alternate, and in it, I described us becoming a cyborg. I even have a little chip here. Yeah, a lot of my interest now is in actually the move to regeneration and how with this particular topic, immersive is going to be a super AR, VR, immersive at large will have a very significant role. Now, I'm not one to promote for moving to digital only, but we'll talk about that when we talk some more.
Awesome. So wait, you have a chip?
I have the Swedish identity card. Well, it's
in your thumb. Oh wow.
No, it's right here. It's right here. So I can do ping and pay, or ping and open the door, and silly stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, we are gonna have.
Really, it's to authenticate. If I slide my watch over it, then I've authenticated a hard authentication.
We are going to have a lot of fun today, audience. I hope you're ready for this. Lubna, thank you. Welcome to the show, Noble. I mean, I don't have to tell you anything. You know how this works. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Noble Dracone. I'm the managing director of Dracone Capital Partners. I've been in the investment space for almost 25 years among multiple spectrums. Right now, I'm working with Alessandro on the M Accelerator Venture Fund 1. raising a total of $40 million to focus in this space. We look at fintech, we look at augmented reality, virtual reality. I'm actually also a patent holder in the AR space, in which we integrate clothing and augmented reality to create interactive gaming. Lubna said it best, the whole focus with this space is all about experiences and being able to intersect. So I 100% I love this area. I love this space. I've been completely dedicated to it the last 5 years. So I look forward to the conversation today.
I mean, this is your world, my friend. We've been teeing this up on every episode, little bits and pieces, little pixel here, pixel there. It's now time to bring it all together. So get ready. Samit, welcome to the show as well. A little intro, a little background on yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sanmeet Charlie. I'm an angel investor in 40 technology startups, including some virtual reality startups as well. I started with virtual reality investing in 2016. I was actually very excited about Oculus the first time I tried it at an Intel Extreme Masters. My son is a gamer, so he took me to Oracle Arena for a live combat of so in a theater style, these kids were fighting teams from all over the world to win some prizes, and I realized how big gaming and especially virtual reality in future would be for gaming for consumers. I'm also a founder of founder and patent holder for Grow2 app. We are building a group of or tools for friends and family groups. So your friends and family software outside of a public social network or a chat app. Chat apps don't organize or analyze data. So they just push data in a first in, first out manner. So there was a space in between which we are trying to take for friends and family software, kind of on mobile devices, kind of like a mini ERP system on mobile devices for friends and family. But I'm also an angel investor in technology startups. Have been in Silicon Valley for 20 years. Very excited about all the new trends, and I'm invested in robotics startups, artificial intelligence, and VR especially. Now with pandemic, it's picked up exponentially, growing up very fast. So very excited to talk about my experiences and knowledge about this field.
Wonderful, welcome, and we're excited to have you. Last but not least, the Grand Master of Artificial Intelligence. That's all I have to say. He knows what to do from there.
Who are we talking about? Well, I appreciate it, Kyle. Thanks. At least I'm not the grandfather. Last time I was a grandfather. Now I'm the grandmaster. True. What am I going to be next?
Well, we're going to see tomorrow. We're going to see tomorrow. I got to mix it up every now and then.
I love it. I love it. No, you're fantastic, actually. So my name's Gary Fowler, and some of you here have heard this a few times. I've got over 35 worth of creating companies. I've done 15 startups. Eva, my latest company that I created with a billionaire from Russia, Dr. David Yang, is closing in on $1 billion status as of we speak. And I'm the co-founder of that company. Click Software was a little company that we brought out of Haifa, Israel, brought it to the US. I was on the original team. People said we weren't going to make it. We did. I named the company Click Software. Company did an IPO on NASDAQ and was sold to Salesforce for $1.3 billion, $1.35 billion in August. So know how to create companies. I mean, that's what we do. I created the first accelerator in Russia. I created the #1 corporate private accelerator as a co-founder. And I just love startups and I love artificial intelligence. By the way, I'm a clinical psychologist too. So I went to graduate school in clinical. And so I did physiological psychology first, then clinical psychology. So AI has been around me for a long time. And I'm looking for incredible AI companies. My company now is GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios. We look around the world for the best, incredible companies that have a potential to be $1 billion. So as you know, and I work with some people on the call now, like Eduardo, to be able to create those incredible companies. And now in this digital world, we talked earlier about not being able to send your kids to school. Now we're meeting on Zoom. Our world has fundamentally changed, and AR and VR are critically important for us to be able to communicate better and more personalize those conversations. So thank you.
Absolutely. And we, if anything, to that point, have entered a new virtual type world. All right. It's a kind of a early tease. As Gary said, we are all on Zoom more often than probably any of us ever have been or wanted to be, but nonetheless, it is a very easing process into this virtual world that we are going to be talking about so much today. And to everyone, again, I mentioned the stat earlier in the show of this being a $100+ billion opportunity in a market in the next 5 years, and that's being the virtual economy. But realistically, we've seen science fiction and entertainment paint this picture of what mixed reality or immersive or augmented or virtual, whatever you want to call it, and I each have their own definition, and each are very different, but we've been painted this world of what a virtual world will look like. And now, is it here? And so I'd love to hear each of your thoughts on kind of the current state of things, and not so much, what's happened in the last 6 months, but kind of where are we today and what do things look like going forward from here? And Alessandro, I'll come back to you. I mean, you've been a developer in this space for so long. You've probably seen and heard everything from the beginning to today, but what are you seeing as the current state of AR and or VR, augmented and or virtual reality?
Yeah, I remember one of the first projects we were somehow using our toolkit. So it was one of those open source platform back in 2005, 2006. Today we're definitely over the last 3 months we received an increased number of pitch deck from AR VR companies. We also seen several pivots. I mean, companies startup pivoting to VR. Even I have another company. I do software development, and for a government project in Italy, we pivoted our project to be, instead of creating a real events in real physical spaces, we pivoted and created a VR tool. It was everything with a university in Rome. So it's an educational tool that we're using VR, reconstructing 3D models of historical heritages monument in Italy. And these are educational tools that professors will use to create classes. So it's not so much done only for the receivers, for the students or the audience that are looking at this the 3D visualizations, but as a tool for the instructors. So it's something definitely new, considering the panorama of products out there. In terms of more like a general point of view on VR, AR, it's definitely exciting to see a number of new products being there. Definitely, I'm working with Noble, so I'm also exposed to a lot of his work on IP and content, and also have to say that being in Los Angeles for the past 19 years, I definitely learned that content is king. So I experienced firsthand that yeah, definitely we need the infrastructure, the software, but what definitely could help out, could bring everything to another level is the content.
And so do you feel like that's kind of the missing piece? And I'm going to get everyone's thoughts on this, so don't worry. But I mean, here it is. Again, we're in 2020. I think I made one of my first VR investments back in 2013, 2014. I've heard about VR. We've talked about AR. Similar to Lubna, I've been researching this space. What's the holdup? Is it the content, or is there something a little bit bigger? And Alessandro, I'm coming to you first on this. And again, everyone's going to get the chance to answer the same question.
Yeah, as a developer, I definitely experience that you, as a developer, you start with a problem-solving approach. So you think about the hardware, the software, what is possible, what would you like to do, and that was my very, the mostly naive approach to software development. I mean, I've done it since I was 8. So it was something really that I liked it. And at that time, I was not ever thinking about business, right? So you solve a problem, you build a solution. Definitely, there's some research involved, a lot of iterations, and then you actually learn that the content, as the strong, mostly, mainly the strongest value. I mean, is the content that it creates bridges and connects with audiences. It's not necessarily the technology.
That is very, very true. And Eduardo, I want to come to you. I mean, what are you seeing as the current state of things? And then we'll get to the roadblocks as well. But what are you seeing, Eduardo, as the current state of AR and VR as well?
Well, actually, I think, as I mentioned before, is probably one of the hottest sectors in which investors are investing right now, actually. I mean, not only in Europe, probably this COVID, thing has accelerated dramatically a number of, changes in our society, in how we basically deploy capital, in how we invest, in how we behave actually with others on a worldwide basis, not only in Europe, but also in the US and in Asia. And in this regard, I mean, right now, actually, in certain countries from all over the world, actually, where you cannot leave your home without wearing a mask, or in which you cannot share a particular space with more than 10 people, let's say, as for example, in Spain. These new applications and these new systems in which virtual reality basically allows you to interact, allows you to buy things, allows you to choose things between different options that you have on the hospitality, real estate, also restaurants, industries, of course, I mean, gaming, but gaming has been there for many years. I think that it has been a tremendous increase in demand from investors and from customers. Ourselves, and as I mentioned before, we are promoting a number of new ventures in this space, in this arena. Because, for example, in Spain, in restaurants, you cannot basically have direct contact with owners or with other people. Such as, for example, also with the menu cards, we have developed an application in which you can use eyeglasses with enhanced virtual reality to have a look at the different, options that you have in the menu. In a very similar way as, for example, if you travel to Japan or to Korea, where you can find those plastics, equivalents of plates, actually. But in this case, you don't have anything in your hands. It's basically virtual reality. And also in the real estate sector, you are allowed to see your new dream home from home, actually, in which you don't have to go for a viewing there, actually, and put you in danger. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think that it has a bright future up ahead, and right now, and in this particular situation, this trend has accelerated dramatically from an investor point of view, honestly.
Yeah, and I agree. And I've seen a lot happen. Alessandro kicked us off with that as well. And I think, you saying the use case of, virtual reality and even education, we're starting to see concerts that are really starting to pick up, as I mentioned, conferences. So I think CoinDesk just mentioned they are going to actually go virtual. We had some others in this space around fintech with Decentraland, where you were kind of half in, half out, half Zoom, half Decentraland. I expect to see more of that as things continue as well. Samit, to you, what are you seeing as kind of the current state? Oh, you were unmuted. I saw you were ready for that. What are you seeing as the current state of things? for around AR
Yeah,
and VR.
I'd like to mention that the biggest breakthrough that has happened recently in VR, which will lead to a massive consumer adoption, is that now with Oculus Quest, you know, we can do wire-free gaming. A few years ago, we needed an actual gaming PC, a powerful PC, and a wire connected to your headset to be able to game in the virtual world. So the total cost for consumer entry into software, into which VR gaming was very high, over $1,000. And then, you know, even then the headsets were not as powerful. But now with this Oculus Quest and Oculus Go, Oculus Quest starts at $399. Go is even cheaper. And this has 6 degrees of freedom with its controllers, and pretty much that's all you need. And during the pandemic, actually, they were all sold out. So when everybody was strapped at home, Facebook did not have enough inventory. I'm sure now they have it, but there was a sudden spike in demand for VR headsets and VR gaming, because we are at home and we want to really bike in Switzerland or play you know, somewhere else in the world with some other people in a different environment. VR is a perfect application for when you are in home, the weather outside is not good. You know, you can still bike around the world, you can play games with people around the world, and you know, immerse yourself fully in the game. You're inside the video game. So there are 2 very exciting companies that I invested in 2016. One of them is called Virtuex, which has you know, a hardware device which attaches to a stationary bike, and they have video games where, you know, when you are biking inside your home, putting on a VR headset, you can actually bike anywhere in the world. So you want to bike in Switzerland today, okay, and you know, so as the pedal movements happen, your headset registers those rotations and you know, makes you move inside. So you're exercising, but you are actually biking in Grand Canyon, Switzerland, Santorini, Greece, or anywhere in the world. And then they have video games. You could be actually biking while you're pedaling a tank and shooting around in 360 degrees. You are immersed in the video game. So you don't even realize that 1 hour of exercising is finished, because you have been actually in the virtual world playing and shooting helicopters and tanks. And so that's one exciting company. Second is called Virtuex, where Mark Cuban is also an investor. They were on Shark Tank as well. They are building, they have plenty of patents and a product already out in market, which is a VR treadmill. It's an omnidirection treadmill. It's called Omni, so check out Virtuex Omni. And that allows you to run in VR, run, walk, crouch, jump. All your actions are actually recorded and played in the video game. So you could be shooting zombies, playing Call of Duty type of stuff by not sitting on your couch pressing buttons. We are actually running and burning calories inside a video game in 360 degrees. And so that's very exciting investment. You know, check out Virtuex Omni. That will also be breakthrough. So they're now building a consumer version for it. So you could buy it for your home as well, like a treadmill. So do VR gaming, run inside VR using that treadmill. They initially started with Dave & Buster's and location-based entertainment, you know, for birthday parties and gaming arenas, but now moving into the consumer homes as well. So very excited. And I play myself, you know, I play table tennis on VR. I do boxing on VR. So a lot of exercise with VR combined will be very big consumer application for future.
Yeah, and we've seen a little bit of a tease of that over the past 6 months, and I think you're right, it's going to be a growing trend. I mean, we've also seen a little bit of that mix, which a lot of people will fight me on, but just hear me out, is we've seen, again, another entrance ramp of that with the devices like Tonal or Peloton or others, where you're singular working out, but there's this virtual connection to it, right? You may not have a headset, but you're immersed into something. Again, an on-ramp to something bigger that I know Noble we'll be excited to talk about in one more minute. But before that, Lubna, I'd love to come to you and get your thoughts on the current state of things that you're seeing in AR, VR, and immersive realities in general.
A growth spurt.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I mean, I think the first time I was doing something in that's virtual or immersive was, I think, back in '94. When we were at Viacom, and we had Thomas Dolby, if anybody remembers. Who knows who that is? He's a god, as far as I'm concerned. She blinded me with science. Toot, toot, toot. First ringtone. Hello. And we had Thomas Dolby, the band, and the dancers on the screen at Viacom. This was an investment event where they all looked like they were dancing and performing together, but in reality, the group, including the dancers, were distributed between New York, LA, and Miami. During our home space. And then fast forward, you know, my daughter is a graduate of DigiPen with Digital Art and Animation School. So the whole immersive world. And back in the early days, so obviously gaming is big. I think today, other than the price points and the points that everybody else has covered, there is an emotional, it's an emotional connection. And we've been able to, you know, we have a lot of things that are happening to us at this time. Lots of all the things that we believed were givens and cans and cannot are now being challenged. And we need to challenge them, and which creates an opportunity for immersive, just like video telephony. I mean, it's pathetic the quality of it today, but it's only because of how resisted it's been. Who ever thought we could have the background of our homes around us? But we were focusing on different things that were less important. Actually being able to connect. And we realize also that the emotional connection, the personal contact with each other is what we miss the most. So immersive, again, whether it's VR or whichever, I mean, there is also blended. And you know, in 2014, I was working with a company that blended reality through the dashboard of your car, where your traffic, Apple bought the IP, the traffic was, instead of on your GPS, it was painted on the road. And embedded pointers to the buildings where your appointment was. So, and that's where I think it'll go, because it's a pendulum swing, and we're not going to just be here or there. It's not centralized or distributed. It's not in or out. It's many shades. I was going to make a joke about gray, but I won't. But I think the other one thing is advancements in technology. For a change, this one is because. Maybe the younger people are more adjusted to the headset, but there's a lot of, it's much more comfortable to be in a 3D environment now, in an immersive environment. That helps. But I believe soon we will not have to be wearing these things and these bulky things, and it'll become thinner and more integrated, where the challenge will be not in how well we see reality and and which reality, after all, life is a matter of perception and response, but how do we know which is authentic and which is embedded, and how do we you know, maintain I am in all this?
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a great point. I mean, I was reading an article yesterday about Apple's new glasses that are being teased. So we'll see what happens when they come out, but that they actually may replace, you know, the AirPods.
I hope it's better than Siri. I'm sorry I did.
No, you're perfectly fine. I hope so too. But it's a process, right? Even with the example of Siri, that was the beginning of something more, right? We're starting to see more interaction around voice than we ever had. And you know, if Apple really does this right, it could be that next step around both AR and audio, and switching gears, moving into more and more devices.
Yeah, but it's ultimately about, I mean, for me, and the things that I'm very interested in now, it's, as I care about experiences, how do we extend our senses to our digital edge? We are, this is we know I am existing in here, but in reality, if you stop and take a real check of your life, you exist more in the digital sphere, more of your important things, your money, all of fiat or not, where the hell is it? But and our intent, and we're being painted, you know, we're being painted from our edges, if not from within. So it's important that we become more aware of our not only physical, but you know, our biological and our cyber edges.
Yeah, well, look, I don't disagree. I think that's a perfectly good point. I mean, to what we've said on previous episodes and has been mentioned on here, we are literally connected
Totally.
more than ever. I mean, right now there's articles that come out left and right. I think we're the average work day. And I say work day since for some of us that's just life. You know, is an average of 48 more minutes per day. Let's be real. We're probably working 12 hours to get off our work computer to get on our personal computer. Really the same thing, but at any point are still connected to some kind of screen, right? We're constantly living in this a digital world. And Lubna, you bringing up a great point is we're more digital than we are physical, which just, it's just us here now. Other than that, everything else we do is digital. And there's a whole exciting world that can be had and opened around this where it gets into identity, and not just identity management of, you know, passwords and usernames, but also identity, how you present yourself or how you would like to present yourself, one versus many ways. It opens up so many opportunities. And, you know, I tease about the Oasis on many episodes and we talk about this, but that's a good example of how you can live and represent in so many different ways. But Noble, you're shaking your head left and right. Let me come to you. I apologize. I'm talking too much. What are you seeing as the current state?
No. Yeah, you know, Kyle, it's you know, Lubna hit the nail on the head. You know, Samit, you know, it's good to be with other zealots of the future, right? Because the reality is, web 3.0 is here, right? It's great that we're talking about screens, but 1996 to 2000 there were no screens. Let's be frank, there were no handheld devices that we were all connected to utilize. If you were actually on websites and using email, you were almost in the beginning an outlier, and you were already, you know, doing something weird, right? Because you're, you know, sending emails and you're just now interacting and interfacing with the quote unquote digital world. I've been ordering stuff from eBay, and I was probably one of the earliest Prime members on Amazon when it initially started, and I was ordering stuff, you know, throughout the early 2000s on. So I already was a convert to the idea that the digital life and the personal life were designed for convenience. The core of it, though, and the reason why we still have difficulties, I sincerely believe, with both virtual reality and augmented reality and extended reality, because they're all the same thing, is it's a solution that has been long looking for a problem, right? We all are well-seasoned investors, and we understand the problem solution set very, very well. And when we evaluate and determine investments and how we decide to proceed. And with augmented reality and all the extended reality components, we have a number of highly sufficient alternatives that do not make it a solid problem solving solution, right? That if we have GPS, it's great that you have the overlay. We've had overlay for a long time, but it's never been designed in a convenient way to interact. And for the most part, the resistance between A and B is always very hard for people to leap over and say, this is exactly what I'll always do. It took the advent first of the Apple iPod to convince people that a small screen was interactive, to then lead to the smartphones that we're living in today. And I think that that's where the content issue is with all of this experience. I'd go so far as say experiential reality. I'm a huge fan, and I really believe that Web 3.0 is screenless, and that we will lead to a world of no screens whatsoever. You know, Sidney talked about a lot of great companies. I've been following the Omnics. They're a big esports group for a long time. You know, they actually sell we're selling franchises for a long time. So I'm definitely will reach out to them to figure out where they are now in that space. But in the same time, you have companies like Mojo Vision, which came out the first of the year, in which they're pushing their new contact lens that allows people to see. And I think that that's kind of between Mojo Vision and there's a couple other companies that I like, NR Reality, Spatial. There's these companies that are really trying to create a workable problem solution set. But to more of Alessandro's point, our focus has 100% been on content and IP. I believe that there's a need to create a true native, interactive, augmented reality experience that is a compelling reason for people to want to use augmented reality. We saw Pokemon Go had a built-in audience, and while not true augmented reality, as we all know, it's a literally geolocation game with some overlay. It created that really good problem solution set where people realized that at that time, the same way that the original Nintendo Wii was, people were playing games and were highly static. And so if you give them a game that allows them to basically do a scavenger hunt for Pokemon and give them geolocation, have them travel around, you'll be able to get a fun experience. And I think that's really it. That if we focus on not just the technology, which was a mistake that I made early on, that when I intersected into the AR space, it was very much technology driven, and it was not user experience driven. So when we filed our patents and we started developing games, it was really to exploit how cool the technology was, because the geek in me and the geek in my team was that, this is so cool, this is so great. But at the same time, we really missed the boat. Even though we did successful Kickstarters and we brought people on, we really missed the boat, I believe, in really convincing people that the game itself and the AR were synonymous, that the IP is synonymous with the experience, and the experience has to happen in VR or AR. One of the issues that I have with a lot of gaming, and I don't know how they'll fix it, I guess, necessarily, is you have a lot of FPS, first-person shooters, which interact with virtual reality, but they still are doing it the same way that Doom was doing back in 1994 when I was first did first-person shooters, right? So there's got to be some intersection where the virtual reality experience has to add something to it. Maybe we need to have smell-o-vision. I don't know what it is exactly, but something needs to be integrated that really.
By the way, with just a side note, we actually did, it was teased out, I want to say over 5 years ago, there was smell-o-vision that was supposed to come
in
theaters and also in Tomb Raider, back to the gaming theme that we've been mentioning, that you would play Tomb Raider of all games. Just throw that out there. Of all games, you would be able to smell your surroundings for Tomb Raider, a game that takes place in the Amazon and in caves. What better place to have smell-o-vision than a damp cave?
Maybe it was an easy smell to replicate. Maybe it was an easy smell. But I mean, I just think that because the thing is, one of the things about the human brain, and Gary will be able to attest to this, is that smell is one of our key memory senses. And I think that is great to have the visual interaction, as we all have been doing. But as long as there's a replacement, Spatial, which has a great way of making you have a digital avatar, they even themselves have conceded that you have to have people in 2D. People just don't want to be 3D avatars of themselves, which is okay. But when you add some of our other sensory inputs to this experience, even if it's just subtle, you're going to create a little bit more of the have to do it. And I think that's really key. I'm a believer. I'm 100% believer in Web 3.0. We've hung our hat on AR games, but our AR games based on the experience and the IP. But I think that's really the key, that we have to take that experience one step beyond, because the visual right now, there's too much of a alternative for people to step away from. And it's just uncomfortable. I love headsets like everybody else, but and even the eyewear at some point, those of us who've worn glasses on and off for years, it's great to have it, but at the same time, there's that comfortability factor. So I think that the state of it is now that we have to get people who are more creative, a lot more creatives using the technology is here. The technology is done. We need people to create those experiences in a fun way and get away from the utility all the time.
Well, and also, there's the content, there's the comfort, and also the use cases. One of the big downsides of Google Glass when it first came out, years ago, was it just wasn't a good, comfortable experience, right? It wasn't just that there wasn't a use case, but it also was, it wasn't a comfortable user experience in any way, shape, or form. And so, if you go into Lubna's direction and you've got a chip embedded, for instance, there could be a very easy comfort level of being able to do anything, payment, et cetera, through that. But when you have to add that extra step, it's just it's a big hurdle. Now we're still coming, but Lubna, feel free to add on.
I'm dying to say something. Yeah,
No, please,
I can't help myself. So animated.
I'm seeing you.
Save myself. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Except that I really don't think it was a problem. It was a solution looking for a problem. I'll start with that. I think it was an innovation, and we forget innovations out of the lab are not. Marketers and industry, we see an innovation out there, bam, we make it into, we taught people how to say SMS and 5G and 3G and codes. And really the innovation that needed to happen is an implementation. And maybe that's how I speak because I'm a systems person. So how do you do it in implementation is by doing it in application, in meaningful application. Immersive has a lot of, AR, VR, all of them together, all these added experiences, they are ways to extend our senses and to give us a bridging of our physical, a blending of our physical and digital lives, and in that extend our sense, our visual capacity in a almost three-dimensional way, or it maybe more when we go to holograms and holographic experiences, and we can start materials. And if we extend our senses, which is obviously this is a double-edged sword, as we extend them, we have to know them and tap into them. Then who controls that tapping, which is what I've been sort of working on a lot. But I think it's really about some of the problems were in the mindsets. If you've worked in innovation for a long time, when we first came out of Unix, everybody's like, what are you talking about? You're nuts, so you're going to travel the world through a machine. And when we first came with PCs, people said, who needs a PC? And, I'll fast forward a lot. Who needs a .com? Who needs a mobile web? Blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing. We are so stuck in our existing patterns, our neural networks and our ways of thinking. In this case, it's usually, I would say that that's true 90% of the time, but I think with immersive, the technology, because it has to do with extending our senses and our physiology, really. It's psychology, it's balancing your psychology, your physiology, and it's making sure you don't get VR sick and immersive sick, because if you've experienced, but if you stop and think of enormous applications, whether it's for people who have Alzheimer's or people who are paraplegic and can experience, when we make it truly extending our senses, where like a holodeck experience or something, then but you can start seeing whether it's by remote medicine, education, when you're actually experiencing, and it's not just sitting and putting a damn VR headset on your head, but it's also walking through the forest and having the tree actually start telling you about itself. And telling you what it is and what the flower is and how did this plant grow out of the stem of this dead plant over there. I mean, right. And that's what it needs to move. We need to move from sticking it here for an investment to moving it around here to help us better bridge between our physical being and our own spiritual being through our digital being, and how we communicate with all that life that's around us, because it is about being connected, and we have been always connected. We just disconnected when we build these walls in our heads and in our nation. which opens up a whole wild world of opportunity from an investment and an entrepreneur standpoint. Absolutely.
And it also leads into two things. One, Gary's background of brilliance around mining and just really leveraging that data in an artificially intelligent way. And it then follows into lightning round. Gary, with that.
Yes. So what everybody said is right. What we have is an incredible opportunity, right? And this pandemic has really spurred things forward. Look at the beginning of 2020, $300 million of Facebook's revenue was non-advertising for Oculus. So we started it. The challenge is, and the opportunity that we have today is that Noble's right. Lubna's right. We need to go down through and connect. And it's not just about the sense experience, it's tactical. It's about actually bringing it closer so it feels real. And so what we're doing now is this transition has taken place, would have happened anyhow. It's just through the digital transformation, as we talked about many times, has just happened very, very quickly. The difference is before the broadcast, we were talking about schools. I mean, think about it. We're in disarray today. People aren't sure, are we going to open? Are we going to close? Or are we going to have a hybrid model? We've got to do something. Kids are not going to just sit at home in a chair without having some type of stimulation. We're going to have to move to that type of environment. So the good news is the whole digital I told you, I remember I was one of the first beta users of Zoom, and I got it introduced by their VC. And I got on Zoom and people laughed at me. They're, why would you do that? You should use Skype. Why don't you use Google? And I'm like, because I like it. Look at this thing. It's incredible. And look at it now, 350 plus million people on Zoom. So we've got the opportunity of a lifetime. This, for startups that are out there, now's the opportunity to develop applications that bring people closer together. If you can do things like, I remember the sensor experiences that they had. And I also remember Apple Books, where you could open the book and you could actually, it would explain what's inside the book. We need to bring those closer now, and it's going to take some time. So the other thing is 5G has given us an opportunity to be able to really, really use AR and VR in an entirely different way. Because we finally, part of the challenge, and I lived through the Unix, and I work with Scott McNeely. So at Sun Microsystems, and I've been to lunch with them a year ago. We were talking about things. So we have an opportunity now that's incredible, because the base of everything that we've done before has dramatically shifted. So the pathways, I don't know, Noble or Lubna talked about, the patterns that we had before are gone. We are global. We are truly global. There's a democratization of opportunity, and now we can use that intellectual capacity to spread it out. So I think that we're in a time, the companies that get closer to make those personal experiences and get us to connect. What the challenge we have today is people don't feel connected. I just read an article that said bike racks are now at an all-time high, and car racks for selling RV sales. People are doing things so differently, right? Because they want to go out and touch. They're going back to basics. And
I thought you were going to say that bike racks were the new bar, or people were going to hang out at bike racks. I thought that was going to be the new thing. But
virtual bike racks.
Virtual bike racks. Here we are. So Gary, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're at the lightning round. We're at the top of the hour. We're going to do a little something different. It is Partner Monday. I'm going to make you all late, or we're going to try not to be late. So here's the deal. Lightning round. I've got a question for each of you. Quick answer. Then we're going to get to closing thoughts. All right. Eduardo, I'm starting with you. I got to look at my questions because I got them all written down. Eduardo, in the EMENA region, where is the big opportunity when it comes to VR and AR? Where should investors be looking at? If they want to co-invest with you or others, where should they be looking at in the EMEA region?
Yeah, I think that they basically investors have to put special emphasis on being very close to the founders and CEOs, top management teams, and particularly in my personal opinion, as of course, we have invested recently, but also colleagues from our network which are investing also in these particular verticals. I will say that the main sectors will be education, okay, gaming, and real estate.
All right.
Those are the three main verticals in which to invest related to virtual reality. I think with the highest potential in the EMEA region, and in my personal opinion, actually, because we are also present in the States and in Asia, I would say not only in EMEA but also on a worldwide basis.
Absolutely agree. Samit, to you. You've been an angel investor. You've done 40 plus companies. I'm assuming you've been in some early wins around the AR, VR. We won't get into that, but of all the investments you've made at an angel level, what is one or two pieces of advice you can give to investors who, from a diligence perspective, that are looking to begin making investments in the space? Samit.
Overall, as an angel, I think look for big ideas, very huge addressable market, and disruptive technologies. Those are the two things, besides, of course, a capital efficiency, because you want to keep the burn rate low till you hit that growth.
I'm going to push you on that. That's a good answer, but I'm gonna push you on that. For an AR or a VR company, what diligence-wise should someone be looking at? AR and VR, we just talked about. It's here. It's also coming. There's so much happening. You've been investing in the space since 2016. What got you excited? What made you say yes to the investment from a diligence perspective? You're looking at the company. You're looking at all of the. You've seen the business plan. You've seen this. What made you say yes when you diligence the company as a piece of advice for the investors looking at this first time?
Yes. So I actually got started in angel investing with VR, and because my son is a gamer, and every year I buy gaming systems for him, Nintendo, Xbox, and upgrades every year. You know, there's something new coming in. So there's a regular gaming spend in my house, both games as well as the hardware. So when I saw VR and I said, hey, can this boy exercise while playing video games rather than sitting on couch and pressing buttons? So that was my first aha moment where I said, if he can run or if he can bike in VR using Virzoom or run using the Virtuex treadmill, then he's going to burn calories and move his body while he's playing video games. I'm anyway spending $1,000 a year on his birthday gifts and everything, which are gaming systems. So can these companies become the next Xbox? Can these companies become the next Nintendo? That was my moment, and that's how I got started.
There you go. Alessandro, sorry, bad timing, my apologies. As you take a nice drink of coffee, my apologies. Alessandro, to you, 2 questions. Question number 1, content is king. You've been a developer for 2006. What content is missing? What content do we need to make VR or AR really hit? We've had gaming on Pokemon Go. We've had teases of this from a video perspective. What content is missing for those that are looking to start building content in the space?
So first of all, I want to remember you guys that we work with early stage companies, right? So the way we approach ideas, it's first of all with people, with founders. And that's what we invest in. We invest, we don't necessarily invest or select the startups because of their skill set, because I believe that skills is something that you can easily acquire, just work on it, but it's a mindset. So it's more like the way to think about things. And what I look into, you're asking about new products, new ideas, but what I look into new participants of our accelerators, I like the way they start thinking about how these cyber physical systems could relate to each other, right? So still, like, I'm trying to bridge the gap among many things that were said, but we're talking about hardware, we're talking about the content, and that definitely we're looking for that kind of content that has some kind of flexibility. For example, we are working with a company that wanted to create VR in physical spaces. So imagine a physical room, video projected all around. That kind of experience is definitely something interesting, something versatile that could be used in many different fields. Where we're working with them is to try to understand the specific verticals, because right now they're working with theme parks, they're working with real estate, they're really working with in many different verticals. So at this stage, I would say versatility, but also has to be a very specific problem you want to start with, just because of the usual, it's a small company, it's a startup. So you want to start with a concept that eventually is going to be developed as a extremely usable compared to the alternatives, right? So that's our let's say, business approach.
So Alessandro, I'm going to stop you. We're already running over time. Second question, super simple and quick answer. You got $40 million to spend. How are you spending it on companies? What stage? What is the industry? And how much are you looking to invest?
So we are 2 tiers fundamentally. The first, that's between 25 and 150K to very early stage companies. So we are working with them. We're not just giving them money. We're doing business development with our 3-month accelerator program, right? And then a second tier that goes, I would say, seed money, so 150 to 400K to follow-up funds to companies that we've been working with them before.
Perfect. Noble. Quick answer. We've talked all about this. I know you got patents in the space.
Yeah.
How far are we from real adoption? And that's a hard answer to do quickly.
No, it's not. We already adopted it, right? We already live in a world in which everything is mixed reality, in which we can digitally look up items and things. We talked about Siri and Alexa. That's already a form of augmented reality when you're getting audio stimuli. But then when you start looking at the visual stimuli, we already have heads-up displays and heads-up unit displays all over the place. And to Sunmeet's point, it's getting smaller and smaller and more accessible. So it's just about the ubiquitousness, right? The PC was already in everyone's offices when IBM first introduced them, and it still took 10 years for them to get into the homes. So we're using them in work cases constantly. And so right now, we just got approached by the Los Angeles Zoo to do an augmented reality experience for the schools. And so we're in the middle of developing something for them. We just provided our use case and how to utilize it. So it's coming and it's here. It's just a matter of, Lubna said it best. I like when she said it was innovation. I still believe it's a problem solution issue, but I love the idea that it is an innovation. But even still, we have the innovation of the screens, and the iPod made music popular, right? So we need that moment where we make it popular utilizing this innovation.
And it's coming to a zoo near you or a living room near you. So, Lubna, you're last. Gary, how long until AI is just, loud and clear. How long until AI is just embedded into this digital virtual world that we're moving into?
Happening as we speak.
That's what I wanted. All right, Lubna, this is the best. This is my favorite question. I've been waiting all show to ask you. All right. You teased this up that you've thought about this. You wrote a paper on it. You're half already there. How long until we become cyborgs?
Oh, we've been cyborgs for a long time. Just when do we recognize that we are, and start getting comfortable with ourselves, and start paying attention to the real things that matter. We've gotten distracted by the means, we've forgotten the ends. So that's it. But the applications, the innovations is, to respond to Noble a bit, they're already here. We just have to start, whether it's mental health. I think there'll be a lot of applications today if we talk very seriously, like with the lockdown, there is a high increase in domestic violence. People don't feel safe. An environment like, there's so many applications for helping people get, because they can now, in a world like that, they can communicate with safety. There's so many other things, for example, in travel. And, I propose if you've ever been to Panama, there is a part of Panama that has been updated, renovated, and there are still buildings that look gorgeous, just a piece of a facade of a piece of an old building. With an immersive reality, you can experience that place as it were, or as it can be. I mean, these are the things that opening our minds and getting out there. I can give you a million scenarios of where, even as to say scenarios of how a company would progress, or how, in scenario planning, for example.
Give me one super quick one. Your choice.
Oops.
Think about it. I'm going to come around. Everyone's give a quick shout out to where everyone can find you. Lubna, you'll close us out with that last use case. Eduardo, where can everyone find you online? We don't have any time for closing thoughts, unfortunately. We're already over time. Where can everyone find you online?
Sure, Kylie. You can find me online on LinkedIn. I'm also always, open to hear more about, interesting projects and startups. So feel free to reach me out, actually. And Noble, you gotta say it. I mean, we are living in Matrix, guys. I mean, all of this is just a big lie, okay? Computers rule the world. I mean, this is all virtual reality. I gotta say it, guys. I gotta say it. And the audience know it.
Hey,
enjoy.
We were waiting. It took us 64 minutes to get to that point. I'm shocked it took that long. But thank you, Eduardo.
Someone gotta say it.
Someone's got to say it. Samit, where can everyone find you online to talk to you about potentially being an angel investor and learn more about Grow2?
Yeah, the best is to connect on LinkedIn. And also you can do direct message to me on LinkedIn. Also visit www.grow2.com. And one final thought on the use cases. Travel
Super
is something
quick.
that we didn't touch much. But if you're bored in your house and you suddenly feel like skydiving to see the Palm Islands in Dubai, you could just put on your VR headset and do that on YouTube VR, right?
Mm-hmm.
My daughter loves to do roller coaster on VR. So there are so many applications in just the immersive world outside of gaming as well,
To that point, audience, investors that are listening, this is a key point. There's opportunities throughout these entire industries, endless at this point right now, as Lumna will tease us up with as we come to her very, very last. There's endless opportunities right now, whether it's hardware, software, or as Alessandro pointed out, infrastructure and content. So stay on top of all this. When you're looking at these companies and doing your diligence, make sure they fit into these buckets and how will they really grow and where is the business model that's attached. Is it now or is it later? Is there hardware required or is it hardware independent and agnostic? Alessandro, where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, definitely. My name on LinkedIn, if you manage to spell my last name correctly on Google, definitely, I'm the only one. And or maccelerator.la is our website.
Definitely check out the accelerator. I've had the chance to check out the website. These guys are doing great stuff. If you're in the Los Angeles or surrounding area, even if not, reach out. They can definitely help. And by they, I mean Noble. Noble, where can everyone find you as well online?
Easiest to find me on LinkedIn, Noble Dracone. And then if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out on Twitter at Dracone. It's just my last name. You just one last thing, Eduardo.
Super quick.
The only thing I can say is the reason why I don't believe we're only in the Matrix. We're in a hologram. I'll go there, but the computers are not in control yet.
Keyword being yet. Keyword. But with Zoom every day, it feels like it. Nonetheless, Gary Fowler, where can everyone find you online along with your new show that you have coming up?
Yeah, sure. But they will be, Noble. So my show come up, it's next Tuesday. I've got incredible people from all over the world attending. In fact, we just booked Guy Kawasaki, and stay tuned for some other really incredible people. So anyhow, you can reach me on LinkedIn, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn. You can Gary at gsdvs.com. Love to hear from you. Thanks, Kyle. It's an incredible show, and it's good seeing some familiar faces here.
Thank you as well. And last but not least, Lumna, the quick use case that you have, and then where can everyone find you online? And I will include a link to her paper along with some of the other links mentioned today.
Really, for me, there's going to be use cases across the board, especially education and remote health. We talked about so many things that we could talk about forever that are use cases enabled, especially with 5G and what have you, although I want to have a whole other discussion on that. But for me, it's about putting the intelligence at the edge, extending, augmenting human intelligence, extending our edges, our awareness and our senses to our digital edge. And I think that's what I'd be excited in innovations like that. Although tactfully and in the immediate term, it's going to be in even supply chain management, healthcare, education, across the board, because now the Pandora's box is open. So the thinking, one thing we need to accelerate is the ease of the experience. If we just focus on that, there's loads of content. It's just adding another dimension to life. If you see it as such and start thinking about the experiences, it'll be fine. So, look at new smart cities and healing cities and regeneration that the UN is looking at funding, and that kind of thing. I want to invite everybody to think about themselves instead of being a humankind, to think about themselves, to ask themselves the question, am I humankind or am I kind human?
Love it. And where can everyone find you online?
Everywhere as /Lubna Dajani, at Lubna Dajani, an OG. I have same details for 30 years.
There you go. By 30 years, she means since the dawn of the digital world.
Before I was born,
Before she was born, we were already digitized and ready to rock and roll. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your thoughts and insights. I'm sorry it's Partner Monday and we didn't have more time to go over, but I do want to be respectful of each of your schedules. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, give us a thumbs up, click subscribe. Thank you, Gary. We'd love to, thank you, Noble. Please do reach out. We'd love to have you on our show as an investor to share your thoughts and insights. Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you, Lubna, as well. I'd love to have you share your thoughts about topics like we talked about today, regions and industries around the world. Thank you, Samit. And entrepreneurs, you'd like the chance to talk to us? Well, again, we're available 24/7, 365, as we all are digital, in the digital and virtual world all the time. And we'd love to hear from you on our show. So feel free to reach out to Elena, myself, or the entire LA Token team. And we'd love to put you on our show to pitch us along with the live studio audience. Now, big thank you again to all of our investors for joining us, to our audience, and to Elena and to the entire LA Token team for making VCTV possible. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. We'll be back here for another edition of VCTV tomorrow and every day this week, covering all kinds of exciting topics and technology. So get ready. Thank you, everybody.